Well, it is the final day of confirmation hearings for Supreme Court nominee Judge Neil Gorsuch. Gorsuch himself will not be testifying today, but the Senate Judiciary Committee will hear from witnesses both for and against him. This comes as a number of Democrats say they will filibuster the nomination in the hopes of blocking his confirmation. Here's Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer on the Senate floor this morning.
It is with all this in mind that I have come to a decision about the current nominee. After careful deliberation, I have concluded that I cannot support Judge Neil Gorsuch's nomination to the Supreme Court. His nomination will have a cloture vote. He will have to earn 60 votes for confirmation. My vote will be no, and I urge my colleagues to do the same. To my Republican friends who think that if Judge Gorsuch fails to reach 60 votes, we ought to change the rules, I say if this nominee cannot earn 60 votes, a bar met by each of President Obama's nominees and George Bush's last two nominees, the answer isn't to change the rules. It's to change the nominee.
Ed O'Keefe is a reporter for The Washington Post. He joins me now. Okay, Ed, it's not just Senator Schumer who's opposing the nomination. In today's paper, you actually write that Senator Bob Casey of Pennsylvania, also announced he's going to oppose this. What does this mean for Democrats? Some of them are in states where Donald Trump won their home state. What sort of position does this put them in if they vote against Gorsuch?
Well, we'll see, but there are a handful of Democrats running for re-election next year in states that Donald Trump won last year, who are the subject right now of a $10 million TV ad campaign designed to build support for Gorsuch and put pressure on those Democrats to join with Republicans to confirm the judge. We'll see whether those folks are feeling the pressure from those ads. Casey is one of those 10 Democrats running for re-election next year in essentially red states. Pennsylvania voted for Trump, but he said earlier today that he will join Schumer in that filibuster. Another one, Thomas Carper of Delaware, a reliable Democratic state, just said a few moments ago he too is part of that filibuster now. But there are other Democrats like Joe Manchin of West Virginia who are leaving their options open, saying, I'm going to consider this nomination, or they might perhaps say, vote to end the debate and ultimately vote against Gorsuch. It's a very senatorial thing to do. It's sort of a bit of procedural, gobbledygook, but that's essentially what a senator can do. They can help move the debate along and ultimately vote against the guy. We'll see. What this signals is that this fight will be just as partisan, just as rancorous as all the other fights going on up here these days, despite the professional credentials of Gorsuch, despite the fact that he comes with broad support from all sorts of legal groups, from a collection of Democratic lawyers, and of course with all the support of Republicans. Democrats are going to make it a fight.
Do you think that Democrats right now, Ed, really have the clout to block Gorsuch?
That's unclear. They're going to need, 40 of their 48 essentially to stand together and vote against Gorsuch. By my count right now, there are only really 4 Democrats who support or are at least open to voting for Gorsuch. You're going to need at least 4 more Democrats to join with the 52 Republicans to block to end a filibuster. And so the math right now just isn't there. So conceivably, yes, Democrats have what they need. But a vote isn't going to happen before April 3rd. They'd like to get it done up here before Easter. And that leaves some time for Republicans and the groups that support Gorsuch to put pressure on the other Democrats who are facing re-election next year and say, no, you have to vote with us or you're going to face the wrath of voters. You know,
his confirmation hearing has pretty much been smooth sailing, more or less. I know Democrats have tried to put the pressure on, but it really hasn't worked. I mean, he's managed to make it through. But there have been concerns about Gorsuch's independence. Will he be able to stand up to President Trump? Do you think he was able to push past those concerns?
Not for Democrats like Schumer. I think you heard him say earlier today that based on the answers Gorsuch has given, they've not had their concerns allayed, and that they're still concerned that he would be some kind of a so-called rubber stamp, if not on Trump, at least on conservative policies. Now, Gorsuch himself throughout the hearings has pushed back and said, look, nobody speaks for me. I speak for myself. Nobody knows how I would vote in these situations. Only I do, and only then would I decide what to do after reviewing the facts of the case. So, this is breaking down along predictable partisan lines, and Gorsuch was doing what Supreme Court nominees back to the 1990s have done, which is refuse to go on the record on specific cases or specific issues, using the excuse that they may face that issue in court at some point, and if they speak out too publicly about it, might have reason to recuse themselves, or at least create the possibility that they wouldn't give a party a fair hearing during the case. So they prefer not to say anything. That frustrates Democrats, but that's the way that both Democratic and Republican nominees have behaved in the past.
Yeah, it's sort of hard to argue with that when he doesn't want to tip his hand. It's a fine
Exactly.
line to walk there. Ed O'Keefe, thank you for joining us, Ed.
Anytime, Rena. Take care.